Hi, David Paul here. Um, I didn't know whether to make this video or not, but I thought I should really, because when you experience something bad in life, I think you should share it, because you might stop others from encountering that problem and not dying, basically. So anyway, where am I? Um, I've been trying for days to make this video of the view of the scene out the front of the hotel here in Coimbra. I'm in Coimbra, and I just can't seem to get it to work. But I'll put that up soon. So anyway, why am I lying here in bed making this video? Well, as you'll see, uh, the the sun is shining, and I'm lying here on a beautiful day in the hotel in bed, and I'm so pleased to be here. What happened is, as you know, I've got a house in Portugal, and I went to see the house a couple of days ago, and the plan was that I was going to stay in a tent, and so I was going to sleep in this tent. But I went to Decathlon and bought a nice tent, very good tent, really good place to go to, Decathlon, for equipment if you're going to do the sort of thing I'm trying to do. I have a terrible cough, which I'm going to have to see a doctor about. Not COVID. It's the after effects. So anyway, I went to see the house, and arrived there late at night. So I pitched the tent and just went to sleep. And it was cold, but it was okay. I managed, you know. What I had done is I'd skimped on a sleeping bag. I really should have spent more money on a sleeping bag. To be honest, I think sleeping bags aren't as good as duvets. So if you ever consider staying in a tent, you should really get duvets, although they're difficult to pack and carry and stuff. But if you're going to be in the same place all the time. Anyway, I stayed there the night and it was cold. But the next day I decided I'm going to have a cup of tea, and I've got no water. And a guy in the locality tells me this mountain stream is okay to drink. The water's all right. So okay, I'll go and drink that water. So I get it. The only receptacle I've got to get the water out of the thing, the heaviest thing that I've got, that's going to tolerate this stream because it's flowing quite fast, is a cup, and I'll go down to the bridge near my house, and I lower the cup down into the water, and I'm trying to find the spot where the water's flowing best to catch some water. And I thought, it's going to take forever to get as much water as I want, but I've got all the time in the world. I'll just do it, and then I'll fill me kettle and so on, and I'll just keep doing that. So I lower the thing down on a piece of string, and I'm looking down, and I put my left hand, on the handrail of the bridge. It's a railing, there. It's, to stop people falling in the water, sort of thing. And you'd expect that you could put your hand on this thing. That's what it is. It's a railing. So I put my hand on it, and immediately it just goes poof and flies off. It's obviously rotten. And I went tumbling head over heels, kind of like a diver, completely unable to prevent this. And I go flying head over heels down about 15 feet down into a ravine, and land on the rocks, on my back, on the rocks. The pointy out part of the rock was actually on my back. As I'm flying through the air, I thought, this is it, because I have fallen in the Grand Union Canal before, and I thought, this is the end, this one. So anyway, I land in this torrent of water that's flowing really fast, instantly soaking wet. And I think to myself, is my back broken? Is my back broken? So I checked my feet, and my feet seem to be working, and I wiggle my legs a bit, and I thought, no, it's not. It's okay. But my right hand foot doesn't seem to work, so that's like a lump of jelly, and I can't make it operate. So what I've got to do now is I've got to get out of that situation, and this is a low point, you know. I felt like I don't know. I felt really low. Like I felt like maybe I should just stay here, you know. And the hypothermia is kicking in very fast. So, which it does in cold water. You've got to get out fast. So I dragged myself up, and this thing is just full of brambles. And I crawl up through the brambles, and I start struggling to get up the side of the bank. And the bank is all like rubbly stones and soil and stuff, and it's just giving away as fast as I'm climbing up it. And I thought, well, if I excavate the entire side of the bank, I'll eventually come to something that will allow me to climb up. So that's what I do. I climb up, and I dragged myself up, and that must have taken me about an hour to drag myself out of there. And as I got over the edge ridge of it, I knew I've got one more push and I'm out. Sorry about the coughing, but there's something wrong with me. So anyway, I pull myself out onto the grassy bit of verge there, and I can't stand up and I can't walk, and I'm in hell of a lot of pain. So what I did is I crawled along on my knees, and I crawled across the road to a sort of lamppost thing, like a power line or whatever, and I get hold of this thing and I hug it, and I pull myself up onto my feet. Then what I did, I got onto my feet and I hobbled all the way back to my house, which is about 100 metres away. Yeah, about that. Get back to the house, and I crawled up the stairs on the house are on the outside. Lots of Portuguese houses are like this. So I crawled up on my hands and knees up into at the top to where my tent was pitched, and I crawled into the tent. So I'm soaking wet, and I crawled into the tent, and it sort of seemed like a secure home, but it wasn't any warmer than the outside really. But I crawled in, lay down, and the hypothermia is getting worse all the time. And I thought, well, I've got to get these wet clothes off, and my jacket was soaked. The right arm of my woolly jumper was wet, but the rest of it was okay, so that was some insulation. Feet were absolutely soaking. You lose a lot of heat through your feet. And I lay there, and it took me about 3 hours to get out of my clothes and get them changed, because I'd slowed down so much. And I noticed I was making bad decisions as well, because I had a box outside, the carry bag thing, with tools in it, and I had left that open, you know, and it started to rain, and I hadn't got the tent properly closed, so water was coming in the doorway, and that's more water, more wet, more problems. So that's something I shouldn't have done. And that's one of the signs of hypothermia: confusion and bad decision making. You're getting into trouble now. And anyway, I lay there, and I pulled off my trousers and just lay with the with nothing on down below there, and I got this coat off, and I'm lying there with no trousers on in the tent with the door open, And taking clothes off and not putting other ones on and stuff is basically the end sign of hypothermia. You're getting bad now, you know. And anyway, I lay there and I lay there and I lay there and I tried to get warm and stuff and put the sleeping bag over me, and I eventually thought I'm going to die. This is it, you know. I've got, if I don't move and get help, I've had it, you know. Just definitely not going to make it. So what I did is I got these trousers on, and I tried to put plastic bags in my shoes. That didn't work because I couldn't really move, and that took me ages, just forever, to get those trousers on, and the boots on, and not able to bend down to pull the boots on properly. I finally get them on anyway. And what I did is for some reason, I took 2 hot water bottles with me in the hope that somebody would fill them for me. And I crawled down the stairs, and then I got up onto my feet again and hobbled into the village. And I just hobbled and hobbled and hobbled all the way through the village till I saw a light on, and some people in the back of a house there. And I went to see these people. They didn't speak English, but fortunately their son did. And I explained the situation and let me sit beside the fire. But they seemed to be terrified of me. Everybody in that village seems terrified. And I've subsequently realised, and I've spoken to people, they're all scared of COVID. They just think everybody's going to give them COVID because they're quite elderly, you know. And maybe they've had relatives who died, I don't know. So anyway, I went in and I asked if I could sit by the fire, and I sat by the fire and I took my coat off, and the coat was steaming like crazy, the moisture pouring out of it, and my trousers. So I'm just sitting there and there's just these clouds of steam coming off me, and they really wanted to see the last of me, you know. They really wanted me gone, and I was in so much pain that what I did is I kind of kneeled down in front of the fire and turned my back to it to try and get some heat on myself, and I just went hysterical. So they must have thought I was going to die or something, I don't know. Went completely hysterical. And I guess I must have thought I was praying like before I went, you know. And so what I did, I sat up back on a chair and I asked them for some hot water. Well, the son went upstairs, got the hot water in the hot water bottles, and I don't know, the sense of some people, you know, he'd obviously filled them from the tap. You know, a hot water bottle, you're supposed to put boiling water in them. So he gave me these, and they were glad to see the back of me. So I came out of there, walked out onto the main street, and I'm hobbling down the street, and then up pulls this sort of 4x4 Mitsubishi type of truck thing, you know, like they call them crew cab vehicles. And a guy comes out, rather dapper bloke, and he speaks perfect English, and very tall bloke with a lot of presence. And he said, "Look, where are you going? The people in this village are worried about you. They know that you're staying in this tent and they're worried about you." I said, "Well, I was just fine, you know. I was okay until I fell in a ravine, and I've hurt my back, and I've hurt my leg and everything." So he said, "Look, I'm offering to take you to somewhere where you can have a warm and get some food and stuff." So he takes me to this like cantina thing, a bar, and there are about 4 people in that bar. Not a lot's going on in Portugal, I tell you. And 3 of them are English. And so I knew when I went to this place, I thought, oh, here comes trouble, you know, this is going to be trouble. But anyway, Sure enough, one of these English guys, he's smoking rollies like crazy. He's got a really deep voice because he must have burnt out half of his lungs over the years. And he initially he just introduces himself and he's friendly. And then 5 minutes later, he starts telling me you've got to go and ordering me out of the place. And I said, look, I'm minding my own business, I'm sitting here eating a bacon sandwich, minding my own business. I thought, God, this bloke, if I get into an argument with this fellow over nothing and he hits me, he'll break my spine. I just can't take, I just couldn't take any more, And I was absolutely terrified of this guy. In my normal physical condition, I'd have knocked him out. No problem, he wouldn't have had a chance with me. But he just took a very bad attitude, And I thought, God, I hope the rest of the British folks in Portugal are not like this one, because we're going to have a really bad reputation. Anyway, he came over later on, and he sat and he said, where do you live? And he asked me about 100 times. So he must have been going senile or something with all the cigarettes and the drink and everything. And he just kept, and I said, look, I've told you about 100 times, Grosinas. So, and then he says, have you got a problem with me? I thought, here we go. And I said, no, I don't have a problem with you. All I want to do is sit here and drink tea and sit by the fire, and that's that, So I said, I'm gonna go and order another cup of tea. So he said, I bet you better do, And I thought, what is his issue, Anyway, I've got another tea. I had 3 cups of tea, and eventually, him and his wife she said, let's go, and she just insisted, and he then barks at her. Initially, I'd said something about not having a wife earlier on in conversation when things were friendly, and he just said, you can have her if you want. And I thought, well, I hate that sort of thing, I hate ill-treating women and disrespectful towards them and stuff, and so I immediately weighed him up as a scumbag at the time. So I probably get complaints from YouTube about making disrespectful videos. Anyway, he fortunately went, and 2 guys who were talking to him, English, said, look, it looks like your friends are coming back to pick you up. I don't know if he dumped me there or what, just got me out the village. So they offered to take me back to Grosinas. So I go back to Grosinas, and I'd warmed through by then and mostly dried out. Slept the night in the tent, cold, still probably with hypothermia, but not as bad as it was, And I woke up the next day, and then the light was brighter than you would get in England, and I thought, ooh, the sun's coming out. And I waited and I waited and I waited because I couldn't move. I just couldn't move. And then what I did is round about, it must have been 2 o'clock in the afternoon before I could roll around. I took some paracetamols, which helped a little bit, and then I crawled up onto my knees, and I started packing away all my stuff. So I packed up all my gear, and I packed up the stuff that I was going to leave there, and but I was actually having to crawl around and drag myself, between crawling and dragging my along on the flat, to get all the stuff together and packed in a bag. And so I packed up all the stuff, and I ended up with 2 bags of things I wanted to take back to England, and I've put the remaining stuff in the house, and that was it. And I struggled down the stairs with the bags, and then I hobbled up into the village, And thank God this time I didn't have to walk all the way through the village. I saw some people, and a guy spoke to me in English, and I thought the English is really good. You lose when you're in another country, you kind of lose your natural ear for accents of the place where you came from. And turns out the guy's Polish. But anyway, he speaks beautiful English, and he's got a Portuguese wife, and they were going back to England. And I said, could you please just get me a taxi? I need to get out of here, because I'd made the decision I'm coming back, because I've got to fix a lot of things. So I got the taxi, and sure enough, it was the guy who had brought me there in the first place. So he and I have kind of become friends. There's some nice. I got a best friend called Badressa, and he's like a brother, Pravin Badressa, an Indian guy, and he had a stroke, so he's not very well, but he's kind of like a brother. He's such a close friend, and there's a sort of feeling that you get from people. Immediately you can pick it up. Well, you pick it up on this guy. He's another Badressa. And so is another guy I met in Penella. He's just got that, what you call Mahatma, a great spirit. So anyway, this guy takes me all the way back to Penella, drops me off, and he charged me €15, which is cheap. One of the things in Portugal, you think, oh God, I'm spending money, oh my God. And then I've got to watch the budget. And then you get charged something and they give you the bill and you go, ooh. And that's not so bad, because €15 is, I don't know what it is, it's about 13 quid. It's just nothing compared to compared to a British taxi guy. So anyway, I get the taxi back, and he says to me, strangely enough, we managed to talk to each other, because he doesn't speak a word of English, so must be getting better on the Portuguese, I guess. He says that there's a bus coming in 5 minutes or something like that. And sure enough, along comes the bus. I jump on the bus, and I'm like yelping in the bus because of the pain. And then I like hobble into the hotel, and I thought, I better kind of look respectable, because they might turn me down, like, have you got COVID? Or like, it's COVID, everything, whatever's wrong with you, it's COVID, and because even the folks who aren't old here are still obsessed with it. So anyway, I check into the hotel, and so there I am. I'm in this hotel now. I've been eating Portuguese oranges, and strangely enough, I don't know, there's no way of knowing, but they seem to have tremendous curative effects on you. They're fresh from the tree, and citrus fruit has lots of bioflavonoids in, which is very good for healing. It seems to be doing terrific things to my body. So I'm still hobbling around, and I'm lying in this bed at the minute, because I'm having difficulty sitting up, and it's getting out of the bed, getting onto my feet and going somewhere. It's just too much effort. So I've decided I've got tax forms and paperwork to do and things like that. So I'm going to do that here, and I'm just going to lie in bed. So we'll stay in this bed for a couple of days. I came out here with quite a few health problems, and I've just kind of ignored them. And funny enough, apart from falling down the ravine and this cough, everything's kind of clearing up, So the food and the life here is definitely good for you. So it's been a good thing for helping me get out of a bad mood. I was living in a boat in Watchet Marina, in the dark, having to be in the boat all the time, and feeling quite depressed. So I don't feel depressed now. I feel okay. And so I guess it's been a weird kind of a vacation. But anyway, I've discovered a lot about the house, and the everything's quite doable. The house is smaller than it should be, than I thought it would be. But it's about the size of a house I used to own before, and that was ample for me. It's a reasonable size, and it's room for 2 bedrooms, I would say. And I'll have to get some more land if I want to develop any more and put more bedrooms in. Um, so it's not bad. It's extremely well built. The people who built it did a very careful construction. You know that you can see it's quality stonework, not like a lot of them, but stonework is a very varied thing from one person who builds something to another, you know, because people just built the houses, and some guys were better than others, and this guy, whoever built this thing, did a good job. The walls are unfortunately rather thick, like they're about 2.5 feet thick, which uses up the space inside. So all in all, I've discovered a lot about Portugal. I know how to navigate around using public transport. My Portuguese has improved. I know my way about Coimbra very well, all the bits that are important, and how to get back to places and such like, how to travel down to Penella and then down to my house. And I've discovered one thing that I would have never found, because I made great efforts to find a sawmill nearby so I could buy cheaper wood. And it turns out, which didn't show up in the on Google Maps or anything like that, there is a sawmill smack bang in the middle of my village, about 400 meters from my house. So they're far enough away not to get on my nerves, but they're close enough just to be there to buy any wood I want. So even if I just had something like a trolley or whatever, I could go along there, buy the wood that I want, say I want this, 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 and this. They will cut it, and I'll bring it back to the house, and I'll use it there. So the logistics of doing this house up have just suddenly improved tremendously. So that's good. That's a good point. And so, as my son pointed out, you know, you should go down there and just have a look around. And I've done that, and I've done all the things that I need to do. I've got a fair amount of stuff that I need to do back in the UK. I need to sell that boat of mine. And the situation with regard to COVID is not getting good. There's a lot of panic on, and I think I might end up in a red country soon if I'm not careful, and get stranded here. And it's okay to get stranded here if you've got a functional home, but I haven't, you know. So as somebody pointed out, he said you shouldn't sell that boat, you know, you've got somewhere to stay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to England, and I'm going to stay on my boat, and I've got lots of stats work and things like that to do, a lot of paperwork to do, and I'm just going to do that for the next few months, and maybe do some emails to relevant people in Portugal, and then come back in May. I was told May would definitely be a cert, you know, so it's not going to be a question of being cold at all. But here's the moral of the tale: is you've got to kind of treat Portugal kind of like Alaska once you go out of the cities, because out there the population density is very low. There are a fair number of people in my village, but they're dotted around all over, and you're not going to, unless you actually know where they all are immediately, you know, you can run into trouble. You know, you have nobody to turn to. And the thing to remember is nobody speaks English. Just, I know that's an overstatement, but some people do speak English, but they're like one in 50 or 100, out in the countryside. So I'm afraid if any of you got these homesteading ideas about coming here, which is great, I don't want to discourage you, but I would say that you've got to try and start learning Portuguese ASAP. Just simple things like where is this, where is that, and what you want, and so on. But anyway, I discovered that there are no shops in the village. There's no B&B, there's no hotel or anything like that. I have a very good plan to turn this house into a place that could be let out. So if I need extra income, what I'll do is I'll build a small cabin above the house, on the land above the house, and I'll be able to let the house out to get extra income. And if people come, then I'll get the extra income, and if they don't, well, I got the use of the house. So either way I win. And that's it. So be careful and don't trust things. Don't trust that when you put your hand on a handrail, that it's not going to give way or anything like that. And remember, that you're out in a wild situation, and that can turn bad. Take little walks, don't go too far. In Alaska, what they do is they talk about putting in trails. They don't just wander around at random in Alaska or places like that. What they do is they put in trails that lead back to their home. They will clear a strip of land through the forest and things like that, and that leads them back home, so that they know if they're going down through the dog sled in a dog sled in the middle of winter, that they're not going to get thrown out the dog sled because they've cleared it by branches or anything underneath. So do that when you come to Portugal, and when you wander around the countryside, do that. But obviously you don't lay in the trail, but just take little walks so that you know how to get back. I took a walk to a place called Boca, and I nearly made the mistake of, well, I did. I walked past the entrance to the lane that went down to my village, and I thought, well, if I'd have not remembered that, I could have ended up lost. And you can wander miles and miles and miles because you just don't see people, and that can exhaust you, So be very careful about the short little walks that you do. But I had the presence of mind, this is before the accident, of where that turning was, of looking at the trees and saying, oh yeah, there's a tall eucalyptus tree there, and there's a small one next to it, and they looked like a pair of church spires. So what I had to do was back up on the road and look and see these eucalyptus trees, and say, oh yes, that's where it is, there's the lane, and then walk down the lane and back to the house. When I went to a nearby village, the next village called Boca, or Buca, or I don't know quite how you pronounce it, but in there are all these like ruined houses, loads of them. And I thought, well, my village was the only one, and it's not. Each of these villages has like a vein of ruins running through them, and it's because the Portuguese have built themselves better houses, more modern things. So you'll see some kind of things that look like mansions. So for the people who've got a bit of money, maybe they've gone abroad, made a lot of money, they've gone back there and built themselves these lovely houses. And then you've got these tiny little village houses that people don't want to live in anymore, and that are too much hard work and possibly terrible to heat. So they're very interesting. So take a walk through these things, take a walk down these lanes, and look at the houses, look into them and so on, but do not go into them. As I say, because this is kind of an extension of what I'm talking about with the bridges. These things are not safe. First of all, you're trespassing on somebody's property, but they're not necessarily safe, So stay the hell out of it. You know, stay out of them. Just look, but don't touch, and don't go in, because Portugal can kill you. So that's it. I think I'm going to call this video "Portugal Can Kill You," and I'm going to post it. So, catch you later. Adios.